Investors. My name is Mitchell Sneddon and I'm joined today by Julian Ogrin, CEO and Managing Director of Amaysim. Julian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mitchell.
Now, Amaysim is known as a mobile virtual network operator.
That's a big word.
It's a lot to fit in. For the uninitiated, what does that mean?
Yeah, look, I think the acronym for it, and telcos are full of acronyms. So the MVNO. Look, at the end of the day, what it is if you think of a carrier like a Telstra, Optus or Vodafone, they run the full spectrum of service from building the network, acquiring customers, billing customers, providing customer care and having all the technology and systems to manage an end-to-end telecommunications service to a customer. And MVNO does everything else except build the physical network or the towers that you see on buildings and in and around the country. But when it comes to the technology and the platforms around acquiring customers, the online platform, the customer service infrastructure and resources, billing, everything is, we do everything bar the actual radio access network that sits on the buildings. You've probably heard the term reseller. That's a very light version where you might have a brand that actually just puts its brand, a product in front of its brand, but it's all back office managed by the carrier, which is a very light version. So we have a very more heavier version of the operating model.
Right, so Optus is your carrier.
Correct.
And so that provides all the infrastructure and whatnot, and you guys do absolutely everything else.
That's right. They just give us the raw data, as they call it, a call detail record, and we take that data and we do everything else. And I think what's really unique to the Amaysim business, we've obviously leveraged the online disruptor model like Netflix, Spotify, Airbnb, Uber, where it's very much CapEx light, resource light. Customers really look after themselves through a DIY concept. With us, they just simply buy the SIM, plug it into their phone, download our app, and they're up and running.
Excellent. And so the mobile reseller market in general, it's been a space where a lot of people have come and gone. It's been a hard space to turn a profit.
Yep.
What makes Amaysim different and why are you guys succeeding?
Yeah, I think, look, firstly, I think a lot of the MVNO market has probably evolved quite dramatically over the last 5 to 7 years. When you term the reseller market, probably going back 10, 15 years, you probably remember a lot of brands that have come and gone, didn't quite survive. And there's a fundamental reason why they didn't survive was that while they were a reseller, they were a mini-me telco. They had shops, they subsidised handsets, they had a cost structure that was not unlike the wholesale partner.
So it wasn't capital light.
No, so they were just a replicant version of the wholesale partner. What made us different was that we came in with this online disruptor model. And I think one of the best ways to give an analogy of how cost efficient we are is we've got almost 1 million customers, and yet our head office, our single office, excluding our customer service team, we've got less than 90 employees. So that shows you that automation, a technology platform that actually, you got tens of thousands of customers that can activate online every month. We have millions of transactions that happen on a daily basis. It's all automated, which means that we don't have a real human touch in terms of a lot of the process work that needs to happen behind the scenes that our competitors, like the carriers, still have through their legacy systems. So we're super efficient and super low cost as a result. And I think that's what makes us different. And as we now just scale, all we need to do is put more customers on that platform, and you drive operating efficiency as you grow.
How many customers are you up to now?
So we announced at our year-end results 985,000 customers. We'd exceeded that customer base 45 days into this fiscal year. So we're off to a really good start for FY17.
Great. Let's go back to the costs for a second. One of the largest cost, I'm presuming, is your agreement with Optus.
Yep.
And the margin that they take, the wholesale rate. Can you describe the arrangement of the agreement that you guys have with Optus?
Yeah. Look. I mean, obviously, It is a confidential agreement, but we did disclose quite a bit about the agreement when we IPO'd. So it was very much there was a lot there for investors to understand about the nature of our agreement in the prospectus. And over the last 12 to 18 months, my CFO and partner Leanne, obviously we've been educating the market as to what it's about. But essentially, the agreement is designed around the BYO market, the bring your own device market, the BYO plans. When we started, it was less than 20%. The Australian market was less than 20% BYO, and now more than 51% of Australians now are on a SIM-only BYO plan outside of postpaid or prepaid. So our contract was designed around that. It's a long-term agreement that we signed up front. We have a 5+5 year agreement with Optus. We re-signed that about 6 months before we IPO'd, which means we reset that 5+5 again. And so we've got a long relationship ahead. And then the very strong favourable commercial terms around the BYO product space. But the real feature of our agreement that we talk about a lot is our price review mechanism. We have 2 price reviews a year. And what that allows us to do is, as the market changes, as the retail market changes, if it becomes more competitive in our space, then we have an opportunity to make sure that we always get refreshed. If data utilisation or customers use more data, we can get our wholesale gross margin protected through the price review model as well, just to make sure that the business model is always evolving as the market evolves. And that's what drives sustainability.
And that's something that's really important to Optus as well, because you are quite a significant customer to them.
And we now represent 10% of Optus's mobile customer base. So, we are. It's almost
it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, like we liken it to the Jetstar Qantas type relationship where we're leading the online push, and they're driving that big brand customer experience retail under the Optus brand.
Now, you mentioned that you don't include mobile handsets or anything like that. Are there any value-added services that you do to increase the revenue per customer?
Yeah, so we've got so very much right now the structural growth of BYO is enormous. So, as I said, 20% of there are 30 million SIMs or subscribers, which means more customers have more than one SIM, but there are 30 million subscribers in Australia. 50% of that now is BYO and growing. There's a remarkable stat that 65% of people switching right now, this month, are switching from an old traditional postpaid plan to a SIM-only month-to-month plan. So for us, the focus is continuing the organic growth of that right now. What we have done is, though, that we have a very strong relationship in the household. And we've got the big opportunity around NBN. And we announced that we're now moving into the NBN market segment as well, and we're very excited about that.
And you've got the ability there to cross-sell potentially through your existing customer network.
That's right. Now, we estimate over 400,000 households within our customer base, of which we have a very high engagement with the decision maker in the home. So what we can do is we can obviously, because we have a good relationship, we know basically the territory that they live in. And as the NBN product is rolled out into their street or their suburb, we can help them with their NBN service as well.
So just like Optus will be the Qantas for NBN, so to speak, you guys will be a Jetstar for NBN potentially.
Good analogy, yeah.
Now let's take a bit of a step back and talk about yourself and your experience. You've been with Amaysim since about 2013. What were your prior roles before this?
Yeah, look, I spent. I've got to always remember, because every year I'm getting a little older and my experience is getting longer. But I think I've got just under 25 years experience in mobile telecoms. Started in the early 90s, actually with Optus, back when Optus was starting. Quickly took me overseas, but I probably fast forward. Before Amaysim, I spent the last 6 years running mobile network operators in Europe. I was the chief commercial officer in Ireland for a business called Meteor, which was a bit like the third carrier, a bit like Vodafone is in Australia, Media was the challenger in Ireland. Um, and then that took me to Tele2, who's one of the largest European mobile network operators, and I ran their Croatian country as CEO of Tele2 Croatia, and that was a fantastic experience. You know, like both businesses were about challenging the incumbents. It was about doubling market share for growth. We had strong success in both businesses at that time, but it gave me a really good insight into the challenges, I guess, that the carrier has of the growth of data. So these are thirsty networks. You've got to invest in capex and opex on the network to just to manage customers' increasing data demands, which means you're not necessarily going to get an incremental revenue out of the incremental capex that you're actually investing in the business. Gave me great insights into why I'm at Amaysim today.
Right. And how does the mobile industry in Europe or around the world differ from Australia here?
I think, look, I think Europe has always been, I mean, as I said, I've been in it for nearly 25 years, and even back then in the 90s, I think the UK was always the epicenter of where the thought leadership came from in our industry. And I think today Europe is still probably 2 or 3 years ahead. For example, like when we launched in 2010, the MVNO model was very much in its infancy. But by the time we had launched in Australia, in Europe, it was pushing up 20-30% of a country market. Customers were on an MVNO brand. Today in Europe, MVNOs, like for example, I think it's Germany, it's 40% of consumers are on an MVNO product, not a carrier product. So you can see the growth of the MVNO model in Europe, which is quite exciting. And it will continue to grow down here in Australia as well.
Excellent. Now, if you were starting from scratch again, would you look to own the assets, potentially the infrastructure, or are there significant advantages that you enjoy being, well, a reseller or a MNVO?
MVNO.
MVNO.
Look, it's we are absolutely we love the idea of the MVNO model. As we said, I mean, I was actually speaking at the Global MVNO Congress in Amsterdam just this year, and it's forecast for significant growth even over the next 5 years. If you think of the other disruptive industries, it's always about asset light, cash generating business models that seem to really drive this online disruptor model. So for us, we don't want to invest the heavy capex dollars on infrastructure. We want to invest our capex dollars on DIY service or a new experience. So, for example, we spend about just under 2% of our revenue on our DIY experience every year. So our automation and our experience that you have with Amaysim over the course of the last 6 years, we've got 6 years of automation and IP that we are developing, and we continue to develop it. So we would rather invest in customer experience because that's what customers want.
And that DIY and customer experience, that's all online. So if I have an issue with my Amaysim SIM, do I just jump online, can get it sorted out?
And more than 90% of our customers sort it out themselves. And then we have probably the default is live chat. So we have a small customer service team that manages your live chat needs. We have an inbound call center as well, but most of our customers either sort themselves out, which is what they want to do, or they use live chat. Okay.
Now, is Amaysim, and do you potentially see Amaysim more as a marketing style business where it's just all about adding volume of customers more and more and more on to leverage your capital light structure, or do you see yourselves in specialising in any particular type of technology?
Yeah, so look, you're right on the platform. Like, we have built a phenomenal platform, and we're actually probably one of the best of breed technology platforms. We're entirely in the cloud. We're a partner of Amazon Web Services, so we've got this great scalable technology platform that exists. We've demonstrated our success in mobile with more structural growth continued, forecast to continue for mobile. We've announced that we're going into broadband to leverage that that household and connectivity. If you take a Horizon 2 view of the world, we see what we have is that marketing services platform is our asset. So as long as we can provide a relevant service to our customers, then we can add more products and more verticals to our platform and just increase the share of wallet in the household. That's the idea.
Okay, that leads me into the final question. Where do you see this business in 3 and 5 years' time? We're not overly concerned about the share price in 12 months. What we want to know about is the value being created by you and your team going forward. And also, though, what are the hurdles? You've mentioned disruptors a lot. Yeah. Who's a potential disruptor to you? Are there any emerging, or who do you think can disrupt you guys?
Yeah, I think our 3 to 5 year vision is really about, it's only been really coined into our brand, it's about having an amazingly simple experience for your everyday needs in and around your household. I think one of the things that we say is that we're really proud of providing the basic level of account managed services that you need in your utility or in your mobile provider. So we're passionate about making that experience really easy. Over the next 3 years, the focus for us is twofold. Very much the structural growth of BYO, enormous potential there. As we said, 65% of Australians are switching to BYO. The big one for us is NBN. The 6.5 million households are going to be forced migrated to NBN in the next 36 months. So that's our focus. For us, as we move forward, this is really about making sure that we focus and have a disciplined approach on gaining, continuing to grow our share of those two products. If I talk about hurdles, it's always competition. But we wake up every day and we want to compete, and I think from an NBN point of view, you're probably well aware there's a lot of discussion still to be had around wholesale pricing of NBN and where that goes. For us, we are less concerned about that because we don't have any legacy broadband revenue stream that we have to be concerned about. So we can take a blank canvas approach to our growth. But obviously, we still want to make sure that the commercials around that product moving forward starts to move in line with what other competitors are talking about. So, but it's very exciting times, and in the meantime, we're just going to grow like hard on pushing the BYO mobile growth opportunity and the NBN opportunity in the next 36 months.
I know I need a different approach to investing, and I feel Intelligent Invest will buy stocks that I won't buy myself, and also I think they'll probably make bluntly gutsier decisions than I will.